October is where we celebrate horror. October also is where we celebrate Halloween. But in the month of October, not only do we celebrate Halloween, celebrate horror, but we just celebrate a culture of movies, the horror genre. Now, true horror fans celebrate horror from January 1st until December 31st each year. But like I say, during the month of October, horror fans seem to really celebrate the whole horror, you know, genre. So this month, I wanted to share with you a bunch of movie titles in the month of October that, for me, that I really enjoy, and they're all horror movies, of course. And what better way to kick this whole thing off than to talk about a little independent film that was made in 1978 that spawned countless sequels and also a remake of the original series, and also gave us one of the most iconic characters in horror history. I'm talking about Halloween. I'm going to talk about the entire Halloween franchise, starting with the first movie all the way to the remakes. I'm Jay. Welcome to my horror month of madness. This franchise is one of the best horror franchises out there, and it's one of my favorites. It was started by one of my favorite directors of all time, and I love these films, and I thought the best way to do it was do them all on one video. And I'm not going to spend too much time talking about each one because I know a lot of you guys have seen pretty much the first. Well, hope you've seen the first one of the series, and I don't mean the remake. I mean the original from 1978, and to just show off what I'm talking about. If you don't know, I'm talking about the Halloween series. Like I said, I just love this series to death. The first couple ones, but I'll probably get into that later. But let's just get right into it. The one that started them all in 1978, a little independent film that started out slow, but rose to a mass, following throughout the country and even some other places in the world. That being 1978's John Carpenter's Halloween. Halloween um, is pretty much the horror movie that got the slasher genre started, in my opinion. I know there were a few beforehand that you could kind of class as being slasher, but Halloween is the one that started it all, and also was the one that started the whole tradition of a horror movie being set around a holiday too. It was written and directed by John Carpenter, and it stars Donald Pleasance as the iconic Dr. Loomis. Also Jamie Lee Curtis in her, I believe it's her first role, as the heroine Laurie Strode, and also it stars, my opinion, one of the best um, Michael Myers out there, the original, Nick Castle, who got the credit as being the Shape, even though there were different people that played the character of Michael Myers throughout the movie, but he gets the credit because he is the one that's in the suit the most, and that floating kind of walk that he has. Nick Castle as Michael Myers. The story starts off where Michael, as a little kid, on Halloween night, kills his older sister. and because of this, he's sent to a mental hospital and called Smith Grove, where he spends 15 years there until on Halloween night he decides to say, well, he doesn't say anything, but in his mind he probably said, okay, it's time to get out of here. I have some business to attend to in Haddonfield, my birth town. So he escapes, and when he escapes, at the same time, his doctor, Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, and I think the role that kind of defines his career in a way that people most he's most known for this character. I mean, he did play the character 5 times, but on that same night he escapes, Dr. Loomis was coming to take him before the board of people to show that Michael Myers should not ever be released because there is something inside of him that basically is the pure evil. He's basically evil incarnate, is what Loomis is trying to get across. But before Loomis is able to get there, he escapes. So Dr. Loomis, being the only man who really knows what Michael is, after watching him for 15 years, decides to say, okay, I'm going to Haddonfield. I'm going to get him. I got to let these people in this town know. So Michael goes to Haddonfield, and he slowly, checks out the town. And that's one thing about Michael Myers that I always thought was a good thing, was that he basically, you know, surveys, his prey or whatever. He doesn't just, go killing on a killer spree and just to be, all kind of crazy. Like, he actually, you know, does some recon work, if you will. But anyway, so Loomis, gets to Haddonfield because he know Michael is gonna be there. Michael is come back to Haddonfield to strike up fear and this, that, and the other. And he goes to Sheriff Brackett, played by Charles Cyphers, who is one of John Carpenter's stock actors or whatever, and tries to explain to him that Michael Myers is coming back to your town. He's going to start up again what he didn't finish. So Sheriff Brackett, who at first he's kind of not too sure, but at the same time he says, well, what if you may be right? That if this does happen and if I don't do anything about it. So they, go out looking for him and everything, but Michael is real crafty. He stalks the kids. He, you know, watches little kids getting bullied and everything like that. But he set his sights on 3 girls in particular, one being Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, her 2 friends, Linda and Sheriff Brackett's daughter, Annie. He just, kind of, picks those 3 out for some reason. And he spends the whole night watching them and everything until he decides to start picking them off, one by one until only Laurie is the one that's left. And by this time, Loomis is kind of getting worried because he's trying to figure out, why, where's Michael? Where's Michael? Like I said, I'm not really going to go into, I don't want to go into Halloween too much because, like I say, everyone's seen that one. So I just want to kind of give a backstory on it. But I mean, this movie just has one of the best scores. I mean, it's just original at the time when it came out because it set the precedent of where to go as far as horror movies go. And there was a lot of, copycats after it. And Donald Pleasant does a great job as Dr. Loomis with the dialogue that he gives and the way he says stuff and this, that, and the other. And I just love this movie to death, really. So that's Halloween. But before I finish it, the way the movie ends is left on a cliffhanger because Loomis shows up at the time when Michael is about to kill Laurie. He shoots him 6 times, falls out the window. Loomis looks down. Michael is gone. Movie ends on a cliffhanger because